the intro. What? What it do? What it do? Erceg crew. Hey man, listen. Today we are breaking down UFC 305 with the Gyno Bender, the Dog Bender, the usual racial profiler, Israel Adesanya, taking on. Now look, I didn't say that. There's no photographic evidence of me saying that. I never said I was the real African world champion. I'm just African born, African raised. I trained in Africa. I'm fighting out of Africa. I am the African champion. It's Still Knox. It is the Giga Chad Gaslighter, Dricus du Plessis. And we got an absolute banger of a card for you guys, bedtime crew, including the GOAT, the flyweight GOAT, Steve Erceg. And by the way, you guys, I'm not Steve Erceg. Stop telling me that I'm Steve Erceg, man. I am not Steve Erceg. I am not Michael Scott. I am Hank the Tank. And to my left is the Idaho Skatesman. What it do, Skate Tank crew? We're here for Bedtime MMA's favorite event of the year with the GOAT, Steve Erceg. So what do you have to say about that incredible fine maniac, Steve Erceg?
I still have no idea who Bedtime MMA is. I'm sure it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm really excited for 305 because of just the slump that we've been in as far as events go for the fabulous world's best organization of MMA, the UFC. So hoping to just see some good fights, also some good boxing this week. And for some reason, Hank wants to break down the PFL, unfortunately. So we're going to have to slog through that. So, but as
Give
always,
us our watch hours, damn it.
Yeah, sure. As always, Hank the Tank has his locks for the weekend of various shows.
I'm ready to share, Captain. Hold on. It's ready. It's ready. I swear to God. There it is. There it is. Good old ACA. Everybody remembers that promotion, don't you? And you remember my first lock that I had for the freaking Skate Tank MMA podcast. It was an ACA, folks. And it was an undefeated Russian fighter against a Brazilian jobber that they threw in on short notice. If Idaho Skatesman's memory serves him well, I fucking shit the bed on that lock and had it absolutely exposed live by Isha.
This is that one
of the City Life Project. Yes.
Yeah, it's a famous footnote in the Skate Tank lore.
Yeah, that damn dirty Brazilian got it done. But Colby Covington was always right. I'm rolling the dice twice. I'm betting it all on black. I'm making the same mistake of my past, but maybe this time the devil will be on my side and it'll finally pay off. He's been looking in great shape as Nicoll Alexation. He's been looking really good. And Renato Gomez, again, on short notice. Terrible record coming in. He's coming in this on a loss. I'm assuming this is on short notice. This is what the ACA always does. But honestly, I might as well be flipping a frickin' coin on this lock. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because Tapology. What side did it land on, Skatesman? What side did it land on?
Phone side.
Oh, fuck. Well, that means he's going to lose. But you know what? I got faith in Nicoll anyway. I love Nicoll. My little grandson, he had anemia in bed. But that Rasputin guy, he came in and saved my
Back when I was in Soviet Army.
Yes, when I was the Tsar and I had my beautiful wife who wasn't cheating on me at all.
And anyway, my daughter, Anastasia, she left me. Yeah. It's more of a Nico Bellic. Sorry.
Yeah, I was in so much pain over Anastasia, they had to put me on anesthesia.
Oh!
Over here with the anesthesia. Anesthesia, come to Papa.
Kidding me over here?
Yeah. Hey, I'm picking it. Hey.
By the way, what is up? Chad Drew.
Yes, sir.
My man, Kobe Wiggle, and the leprechaun of No FC. Interesting. Shout out to our good old mods. Are you blind? Hunter Hank. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And then Kobe says he loves Nicoll. Well, I'm not sure.
I know he's going to win.
Oh,
was Nicoll one of the Wiggles, Idaho Skatesman? I'm pretty sure.
I believe he is. I believe Nicoll is a Wiggle. Transitioned his career to MMA. It's a weird turn, but what card do you got up here right now?
He was the guy with the star on his shirt. I got the PFL card on lock here. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well,
you want to go through this disaster? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say
let's do
disaster.
it.
A lot of
Let's
people
run
are
through
saying
it.
this is a stacked card, man. So
No,
I'm
there's some names on the card
Yeah.
for sure, recognizable ones at
And
that. So
who can forget the legendary Mads Burnell, who upset Clay Collard and whooped his ass over 5 holes?
yes.
Yeah, he's over there in a little bit of our fourth fight of the evening on the prelims. So that just tells you.
Shout out to my buddy Degenerate Dane. He is a fellow Danish man, I believe, is Mads Burnell. So he's always a fan of one Mr. Mads Burnell. But yeah,
He a fan.
I guess we could start there. Elvin Espinoza versus Mads Burnell.
Cool breeze.
Espinoza, this is going to take place in the lightweight division. Always a good division.
Fantastic.
Elvin Espinoza is 4-1 in his last 5. He actually has that one loss, and it is coming from Gadzi Robodanov. So not a bad loss to have. The man from Denmark is Mads Burnell, winning against Clay Collard, as you mentioned a month ago. And he is 3-2 in his last 5, and he's also a slight underdog in this contest.
Right.
Tell me what you think about the fight. Oh, what is up? What is up, Cool Breeze? Good to see you.
I don't know. Mads Burnell can be a very unpredictable character. I was shocked.
Sort of like you.
Yes. Is that good or bad? I'm gonna have to ask my therapist.
It's always good to be mysterious, right?
That's true. Yeah, like Kenny's character in that South Park superhero special. Good old Mysterion.
Yeah, of course.
But Elvin Espinoza, I haven't heard much from this kid. He's got a pretty good record though. Mads Burnell. A lot of people expected Clay Collard to beat Mads Burnell, and honestly, the way that Clay Collard's been performing in his last couple fights, it's sort of bad that he was such a big favorite and he got smashed by Mads Burnell. I actually think that Clay Collard's been sort of on a losing streak as of late. And if Mads Burnell can beat him, I don't consider it that big an achievement. So I can understand Elvin Espinoza running through him. He's still pretty young, 31 years old. He's in his prime physically. The other guy, he's in 30. Well, he's actually younger.
Yeah, Mads Burnell younger, and I would say more experienced at the top level. Elvin Espinoza has wins over Keone Diggs, Adam Piccolotti. Pretty good wins. I think that Gadzi Robodanov is like the more well-rounded of the two. I haven't actually seen their fight, but Mads Burnell himself is a well-rounded guy and also just a dog in there. Do you have an official pick? I think I'm going to go Mads Burnell tentatively by decision.
All right. That's fine by me. I just did the UFC picks for this weekend, but I don't know. I'll go with Mads Burnell for now, and then we got good old Danny Sabatello versus Lazaro Dayron.
Yeah, old Danny Sab's back in action, the Italian gangster. This is going to be a bantamweight scrap. Danny Sabatello, at one point, Bellator, like damn near Bellator champion. He's on a 2-fight losing streak in the PFL against Magomed Magomedov and Rafael Stotts, who also he lost to before. Interesting matchup here. Also, especially on this side of the bracket, is this guy an alternate? Is this not even a fucking playoff fight? Talk to me.
Well, scroll over those wins again. Were any of those in the PFL?
No.
Okay, I think he's on short notice here.
Kombache Global, lights out MMA. I don't know what the fuck that is, but
I don't think the matchup was in the cards, and they were just like, okay, we got to have Danny Sabatello on here. He brings the star power. Let's just put him against this schmuck and keep him in the PFL.
Sabatello is capable of getting a finish. Wouldn't count that out completely, but his favorite way is to grind and wrestle fuck you to a decision. I'm gonna just say that's the way to go. He probably needs a KO just coming off of, or a finish of some sort coming off of 2 losses. But yeah, dude, to be fair to him, like I always like to see a Sabatello fight. It's always technical and good.
Yeah. So, he always shows his personality in the cage and outside the cage. So he's always an interesting guy to watch.
Hopefully, what is that guy's name that ruled that 5-round fight against Rafael Stotts in his favor? Do you remember that? The fight was
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, it was pretty close. But one judge had get in every single round to Danny Sabatello. Was like a guy that he knew very, very well personally. So hopefully that guy is one of the judges.
That's where the rub comes in. I mean, it was so controversial to the point where I think they actually played it in a video package to just show how shit the decision was on their own freaking broadcast. So that's not a very good look.
So up next, we got another lightweight contest. Biagio Ollie Walsh versus Brian Stapleton. Everyone knows Brian Stapleton of Island Fights. Who could forget?
Very memorable.
Brian Stapleton. Look, this is a setup.
It's a setup.
I didn't watch Walsh. If you know who this guy is, I don't know.
Yes.
If you do.
Oh, absolutely. He's a heavy favorite. I know that.
He's the brother of Nicoll Ollie Walsh.
Right.
They are like they're grandsons of Muhammad Ali.
That's right. And so they kept the Ali middle name.
Yeah, so he's been getting a lot of amateur bouts in the PFL, is why he's 1-0. And this will be his second amateur bout. They're not gonna let this guy lose. It's a setup. How did he win his last fight and some of his amateur fights? Let's see. Okay. And decision in his first pro bout. Not a good look, but yeah, I'll pick him. Decision, tentatively. What say you?
I think it makes all the sense of the world to have Biagio Ali Walsh on top for this one. He's looked pretty. He's looked pretty perfect his last couple fights, getting a bunch of first-round subs or knockouts. So they're feeding him cans like a billy goat, and I think this is no exception. I don't know where this guy came from that he's fighting, but he's a heavy favorite for a reason. I just think he's going to scoop him up and submit him. Should be a pretty simple thing.
Cool. Yeah.
Not experienced in the PFL, like you said.
Next fight is Brent Primus versus Clay Collard. Fantastic fight up at lightweight. Brent Primus, man, old fucking veteran, one-time Bellator champion, has a draw. What? Wait a second. Did this get overturned?
Yeah, because of he was on steroids, I think. They had Usman was on steroids. Yeah, he was on EPO.
Oh, he had a steroid failure. Interesting.
Maybe it runs in the family. I think I actually said that once. Islam Makhachev and the others. They're hanging out.
Regardless, Brent Primus, I mean, if you look here, he's 39 out of Eugene, Oregon. Clay Collard is a favorite in this fight. When you look at the fight just on a base level, trying not to say on paper, it's like, but if you just look at it on the surface,
Anthony Smith might be in the chat.
Brent Primus, dude, he's gonna win this fight, but the problem is he's getting older. Clay Collard, I would say, is like they're more of a knockout threat, but even Clay Collard doesn't. He's more of a Nick Diaz, death by 1,000 cuts kind of guy, not like a knockout, kind of guy. I don't know, just not doing any research into this, not seeing a few of their last fights. I'm gonna go Brent Primus to win. I think Clay Collard is. What's weird about Clay Collard is sometimes he'll show up and have a great fight. Sometimes he'll show up and just shit the bed. So
yeah,
who are you picking?
Absolutely. I'm going to go with Primus as well, just because I think he's way better at the takedowns than maybe even Burnell. He's just explosive with them. Clay Collard, he gets you stumbled at some point, and then he comes in, and then you get the perfect double leg, and he's not expecting it. Down he goes to the mat, and then you're usually on his back for the next 5 minutes. So I feel like that doesn't change here. I've really liked Brent Primus's 2 last performances that he had. Although he did sort of look rocked against his last opponent, there were times he was in trouble. He was still able to get perfect timing on those takedowns. And I think it's just sort of innate that he's going to eventually find that takedown unless he's like roided to the gills and can knock him out immediately. And like Usman or Magomedov. But Clay Collard, it's strange because he has power, but sometimes he doesn't. Like it takes like a million punches from Clay Collard to knock you out. It's not like one punch, down he goes. It's like he has to put his combinations together. And I think while he's putting those combinations together, moving it forward against Brent, eventually he's just going to find himself caught and down on his back. Brent Primus, I will say that his submission ability is sort of underrated. So you might see a Brent Primus submission, but I can see Clay Collard doing good work with the hands to avoid that. He did it against Burnell a very long time. I was surprised he did.
Gadzi Robotinov taking on Michael Dufort. I do not know what the hell that is. but he has had 2 fights in the PFL. He actually submitted Mads Burnell, split decision to Adam Piccolotti. I don't
aged well.
Gadzi getting submitted here. Gadzi's probably got this one in the bag.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened. Do you have any insight on this fight?
I sort of see him in a Brett Primus kind of type where he doesn't look all that impressive on the feet. Have seen him crack his opponents before, but usually that doesn't result in the finish. It is absolutely his takedown ability. That's his bread and butter. So I see him using that, just spamming takedowns, fucking Marab style, Carl Williams style. Although not in his last fight, Carl Williams. But yeah, in this fight, definitely.
I actually have some thoughts on that. So and we'll talk about that.
Here's the thing, Rabadonov, I've seen him get the backpack, yeah, but not get the rear naked choke. So yeah, that's usually his character.
All right, Rob Wilkinson is taking on Dovlet. Oh, his name is Davletstan Yagshimuradov.
Yes,
I love Davletstan Yagshimuradov. Rob Wilkinson, though, another good fighter. Coming up, I believe he won the middleweight Grand Prix at one point. Then he failed for steroids, and now he's back taking on old Mr. Davletstan Yagshimuradov. By the way, can you say Davletstan Yagshimuradov 5 times fast?
Dovlet Yagshimuradov, Dovlet Yagshimuradov, Dovlet Yagshimuradov, Dovlet Yagshimuradov, Dovlet Yagshimuradov.
Nice.
Good at pronunciation.
I mean, Rob Wilkinson's got power. So does Yagshimuradov. This is an interesting fight, for sure. Could end up being boring. Some of Davletstan Yagshimuradov's fights have been a slog, but I think Rob Wilkinson's a more exciting guy, maybe due to the steroids. Who knows?
Right.
I got to ride with my good old pal here, Davletstan Yagshimuradov. He is 35, Brent Primus the younger. But, I mean, the man from Turkmenistan, I think he can get it done. What about you?
Yeah, this seems like one of the closer fights for the event. If you just look at the odds and you also look at the Tapology picks, both of them are almost freaking tied. So this is definitely going to be the closest.
I think money's coming in on Wilkinson. He is minus 155. Davletstan Yagshimuradov coming in at 130 favorite. Plus
Dovlet is definitely a great underdog.
His name is Davletstan.
What?
His name is Davletstan.
Davletstan?
Yes.
Okay, but they shortened it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it is a lot of words. There is a lot of letters to put on a page. So
how dare they mock his ethnicity like that? But Rob Wilkinson, we've seen him go to close decisions before. He's won by split decision. He gets some nice poppy aesthetic shots, but not ones that count for much. And then he always almost leaves it close. He hardly ever gets the finish. So against a guy who I think has as much energy and as much as a gas tank and has that dog in him, I feel like he's probably going to give Rob Wilkinson a bit more than he can chew. So I actually see him getting the upset. You're right.
All right, move on.
I can see it going either way.
Impa Kasaganai versus Josh Silveira 2. Did you watch the first one?
The first fight between these two?
Yeah, I didn't even know
there it is. Yeah, I beat him by a decision.
Okay, 8 months ago.
Yes, sir.
Well, Josh Silveira, the son of Kenan Silveira. When I first saw Josh Silveira's debuts, I believe they may have been in Bellator. I was like, this fucking guy he's gonna take over. And then he lost kind of weirdly a decision where he just kind of gassed. And I mean, it's interesting that he would be like a Bellator prospect, in his late 20s. But Impa Kasaganai had that weird ass fight with Mr. Johnny Eblin down at middleweight, and it was like a super fight, whatever. But I kind of thought he could have won that fight. I thought he should have won that fight. I thought he was whooping Johnny Eblin's ass. But either way, he's up at 205 again, trying to reclaim the throne. This is a close one. I think Impa Kasaganai, it's like classic striker versus grappler matchup. Impa more of the striker. Josh Silveira more of the grappler. I don't know. This is a close one. Probably just ride with the favorite here, Impa.
You could actually move to my screen. I actually did. Impa Kasaganai is actually my lock for the card, just because he's won before, and also I think if he can beat Kenan who was an absolute nightmare against Kasunganai for like the first 2 rounds, just beating the brakes off of him, and still be able to come back with a knockout win. I think Kasunganai can sort of do the same here against Josh Silveira. We've seen before that he doesn't even have to get a finish to win this fight. But I value Impa's stand-up and the power he has in his fists and how he's able to put them together. So I think there's actually a chance that Kasunganai could get a knockout in this fight. But I know at the bare minimum, he has the ability to stuff the takedowns of Josh Silveira. So I'm just going to trust that lightning strikes twice. And I think that Kasunganai has more potential for a decision win and a finish here. So I think for me, that's why I think it's a 2-1 odds. So I got it in Kasunganai's favor. I'm also admit I'm a big fan of the guy. He's like one of my favorite fighters because I think so.
It's interesting how he just revived his career after that.
Yeah.
I mean, all-time top 5 knockout from Joaquin Buckley, where he caught one of his kicks and then Buckley fucking spun around and kicked him in the face, and he got knocked out, and then just washed out of the UFC, you know. So he's up at a higher weight class doing his damn thing. Good for him. Always good to see like somebody revive their career like that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people forget that's him. Yeah.
People forget, man. So anyway, we're going to move on to Mbili versus Sergey Derevyenchenko. There is a fight on the undercard I'm interested in. It's this one right here. Are you interested in any of the fights on the undercard?
I'm interested in the one I have a lock for, but there are a few
pull it up.
I know about. Okay, I'll pull it up real quick.
I'll quickly preview. This is the co-main event. Arslanbek Makhmuradov versus Guido Vianello. Arslanbek Makhmuradov, he's known as, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the Russian Lion. He's like a Russian redhead dude. He got fucking viciously knocked out by Ajit Gaviel, who is a monster at heavyweight. And this guy was like a huge favorite coming in.
Huge.
Only had only had a, not an extensive record heading into that fight. He was 18-0, and I think Ajit Gaviel may have been undefeated as well, or maybe Ajit had some losses, and that's why he was like a huge favorite. Either way, he got knocked out, stopped, looked like shit. He looked good for like 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden, just the walls came closing in on him.
Was that due to like the power of his opponent, or just his gas tank running out?
His gas tank and just being a dumbass, really.
That's a deadly combination, as Fire Marshal.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that they're trying to rebound him. I don't know anything about his opponent, Guido Vianello.
He's little Guido.
But unfortunately for him, I think this is a showcase, and he's lost on Top Rank. I mean, dude, if you're losing, on Top Rank.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what, man? He took F.A. Ajagba to a split. That's a good win. That's a good loss to have on your record. Not gonna lie. Shit. So. I don't know. Damn, now I'm kind of torn. I think they're trying to give him a layup. Makhmuradov. Is this on Top Rank? I'm not sure. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Either way, Arslanbek Makhmuradov KO4. I don't know. Now I'm kind of getting nervous though after looking into F.A. Ajagba decision.
Smelling an upset.
I think the F.A. Ajagba is the smarter, more patient fighter. Arslanbek's going to come in for the KO, so it'll probably be KO or bust. He'll probably, if he doesn't get him out of there in under 3 rounds, he'll probably lose the decision. That's my pick for that. So,
yikes! Yeah, that's a risk. That's a roll of the dice. I tells you. There we go. And there's my lock for the next fight on the card. I got good old Abdullah Mason by round 4 knockout. It's clear that this guy's a touted prospect. It's clear they want this kid to have a future. He's looked fantastic in his last 2 fights. He's made a few mistakes now and then, but I think for the most part, he's just like picked apart his opponents. And he's done what the promotion wants him to do, which is find the finish. And I wouldn't say exciting style, but definitely gets the finish so that they can continue to hype him up as undefeated and he knocks fighters out. He's no Shakur Stevenson.
Check out these odds. So Abdullah Mason's 20.
Look at that.
Yeah. Minus 5,000 favorite.
Disgusting, man.
Yeah, but it's Top Rank. He's going to hide out there, get some wins. And you know what, dude? He should. He's 20, dude.
And meanwhile, Mike Ohan has suffered a loss. Ew, gross. Get it away from me. A boxer losing?
They don't have his age up there either. Like, this guy, dude, look at this guy. I mean,
I think this guy's a robot with a human like.
Yeah, an android. Maybe he's made by Weyland Yutani. Maybe he's trying to get the specimen back to Earth from planet or from UV724. Sorry, I've been going on a huge '80s movie tangent the last few weeks.
I think Joe Rogan would be a big fan of that. But
people forget, man. People forget.
Okay, Abdullah Mason's great, man. He's
got our main event. Christian Mbili, whatever, versus Sergey Derevyenchenko. Mbili is
silly.
Ready for this? Oh, he is the WBC Continental America's super middleweight title holder. Wrap your head around that one.
They had to have some excuse to give Derevyenchenko a title shot, didn't they?
This guy is a fucking monster, dude. He's knocking fools out. Signed with Eye of the Tiger Management was the last promotion he fought under, which nobody saw. Regardless, he is the younger man, almost 10 years the junior of the technician, Sergey Derevyenchenko. He got a win on Golden Boy against a man named Vaughn Alexander. Lost that decision to Jaime Munguia. He's kind of just fought all the big names up at this weight class. He's a good test for Mbili. His first actual big test, which is hilarious. He's 27 fights into his career. I mean, fucking come on, boxing. But this is Top Rank, and we know the play here. Oh, here we go. Mbili is a hitter. Yes, I'm so glad that Cool Breeze is checking in. Canelo won't fight him. Well, he won't fight anybody of note. So, either way, maybe he will after Mbili gets this done. Derevyenchenko is durable. Durable Derevyenchenko. Maybe he should change his nickname. Either way, I don't see him getting a knockout, but he's going to definitely be trying, at least for the first half, to get this guy out of there. Maybe they'll be tentative for the first couple rounds, but yeah, I see him going for the knockout and probably not being able to finish Derevyenchenko, who is this guy is fucking iron-chinned and a slugger, So, yeah, give him Mbili, step up. This is just the play. This is the play. This is what Top Rank wants. So they usually get what they want.
Yeah, and Derevyenchenko tends to get hit a lot in his fights.
Yes.
Like he comes back like a bull in the China shop, but his striking defense is wide open. So anybody with a little bit of skill in a cast tank can get it done.
You have a pick for this one?
Yeah, I got Mbili as well. But he could find the rare knockout in the later rounds. I'm not discrediting.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised, but yeah, and it might be like a TKO. You know what I'm saying? The ref's just seen enough of Derevyenchenko getting a beating, and he just stops the fight. So that's probably the most likely.
He's just seen enough of Derevyenchenko in general.
Yeah, we'll have to see what ref it is. That really matters in boxing. I mean, seriously, it's some boxing refs have a quicker trigger. So anyway, we will move on to the UFC card here. First of all, just what do you think about the card in general? Is it in Perth or is it in Sydney?
I think it's in Perth because I remember I've seen interviews where they've been saying, "How does it feel to be in Perth?" Well, how do you know? Is he that now you're going back to Perth to fight in the main event?
How far is Perth from Sydney? Do you know?
Hold on, I'm just looking down to his.
No, come on, don't do it. Just take a guess.
Okay, fine. Is it like what, like 50, 100 miles? Not that far. Or is it on the opposite end?
7.5 hours on a plane to get there. It would take 42 hours of driving to get to Perth from Sydney. It's on the complete other side of Australia from Sydney. It's fucking really damn. It's like I'm actually going to drive to Florida in November. It's the same. Florida's actually farther from Idaho. Yeah, I'm insane. So anyway, but yeah, something interesting, I guess. Just a little bit of geography lesson from the skatesman here.
That's why you gotta freaking have even distribution between those two towns so that both sides of Australia can get a little bit of action. Baby groovy.
Our first fight. Oh yeah, I mean, what do you think about the card in general?
I think that the early prelims are stacked in terms of action. I mean, they got enough good Aussie prospects to draw people in, but that's not what we're really here for. The true hardcore fans are coming to the early prelims of the card so they could see some fucking first round finishes. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be at the minimum like 3 or 4 finishes on the early prelims. They are setting up these Aussies for big time wins against utter jobbers. It's going to be a bunch of squash matches in the early prelims. And me being the just bleed guy who only values finishes and not good fights, that's what I'm buying my freaking ticket for. So
just like
come
Conor
for the
McGregor.
early. Yes, exactly. Come for and I think Michael Chandler would just do the fucking front kick and down goes McGregor. But early prelims gonna have a bunch of bloodshed, a bunch of fights. But then I think around the prelims is when it starts to get a little bit dull and it starts to have guys who I don't really want to see fight because they have sort of boring affairs sometimes. We might get some few like surprising scraps. There are some potential fight of the nights on the prelims, but I think the tone of the card starts to decline a little bit around that area. And honestly, I'm having sort of UFC 304 PTSD flashbacks to me really enjoying the start of the card, and then the middle is like fucking shit between the two loaves of bread. It's not looking forward to that. But, it will likely be better than UFC 304's prelims just because I think there's more potential for good fights. And then once we get to the main card, we got fucking Tuivasa and Rozenstruik, 2 Hosses fighting. We got Erceg crew against a guy who's got a bunch of power in his fists in Kaikar, France. That's destined
Your
to be
favorite fighter of all time is Steve Erceg.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just going to be a back and forth fucking war. And then you got the main event everybody wants, dream matchup in the main event. Really, I mean, I don't think it's a fairly booked main event, but it's going to look good as a fight, I think. But then you got fucking Gamrot in there, and Gamrot ruins fucking everything. So that's what I'm most worried about.
All right, well, let's get into it, man. Kobe has a question for you.
Favorite Beatles year, Hank? I would say my favorite would have to be either 1967 or 1969, because those were my 2 favorite eras. Maybe 1967, because it's got a lot of as Barney Gumble in The Simpsons would say, they took music to strange new places, and that's when they were taking acid and going to India. So that was a very trippy era.
Strawberry Fields year.
Yes, the Strawberry Fields.
Perfect. I love that song. All right, so speaking of Australians can crushing, you got Jesus Aguilar versus Stewart Nicoll. I don't know shit about this guy, Stewart Nicoll. He's been in Beatdown. Beatdown is actually a pretty damn good Aussie promotion. He's undefeated. He's 29. You got Jesus Aguilar, who got his shot from the Contender Series, lost to Tetsuro Taira in his first fucking fight. Jeez. KO'd Shannon Ross. I think that I KO'd Shannon Ross the other day in the grocery store when I bumped into him.
I was walking down the street and I saw him going down the crosswalk and he just bumped into him. And I was like, hey, watch where you're going.
Yeah.
And
so that's not.
Back, but, yeah.
Who cares about that?
I think he actually killed him. He came back from the dead.
And then he beat Mendonça, who I actually picked to win that fight. Via split was a close fight. Is this one of the can crushings that you think will be taking place?
Guess you'll have to find out. What it do?
Yeah, I have your picks up there.
And the pick that I got, I got Stewart Nicoll pulling off the upset, baby. All right, listen to what I'm about to break down. If you smell,
hold on 1 second. Hold on. Panda W says, I finally know what it feels like to have my life ruined by a woman. I never understood it until now. No heartbreak. I don't love her. Wow. Hey, dude, you can, if you're in the City Life Discord, you can hit me up, dude. Been through that many a time, my friend. So, it's a shitty feeling, but time heals all wounds, my friend. But regardless, glad you are here. Give us your breakdown of this fight.
Yeah, Panda said it was not heartbreak. She just ruined his life, financially or something.
Yeah,
in a brutal.
You know what? It happens, man. If you need to chat it up with somebody about it, hit the Skatesman up.
Yeah, see, Idaho is way more sympathetic, but I got Stewart Nicoll by round 2 submission.
I'm sorry, that's funny. Go ahead,
Nicoll. All right, yeah. Stewart Nicoll is taking this fight on somewhat short notice as a fighter coming right off the amateur scene for his bout against Jesus Aguilar. However, just because this guy looks like an unassuming flyweight rookie doesn't mean this guy's Stuart Little. He's actually Stewart Nicoll. He's been getting nothing but first-round finishes against pretty solid opposition, and it seems like this guy is one of the most touted and talented, prospects that the Aussies have at the moment. which explains why he's on this pay-per-view against an established UFC flyweight already. Telling me the UFC have a lot of faith in the guy. Jesus Aguilar, on the other hand, I have very little faith in for this matchup, and here's why. He knocked out Shannon Ross in 17 seconds, and everyone thought he was actually Jesus for getting his opponent out of there that quick. But at the same time, as Idaho Skatesman said, it's Shannon Ross, who hasn't finished that guy in brutal fashion. I was going the other day in my car. I was just trying to get some health care at the local, DMV. And the next thing you know, good old Shannon Ross is going by. It's like, ah! And then he came like right through the windshield like Christian Rodriguez. And I think I killed him because I drove away John Jones style. But anyway.
Hank admitting to vehicular manslaughter on the podcast.
Yes, in the light of Freddie Gibbs. Who hasn't finished this guy in brutal fashion? Bilal, maybe? So that win's unimpressive. And so is his split decision win against Mateus Mendonça, which is a big old nothing burger. I looked at the fight, and both guys looked really unspectacular in that one. Jesus Aguilar's whole career is just one fraud check away from going up in smoke. And I think Nicoll's bringing that smoke. So give me him by second round submission. Aguilar's weakness is the grappling, and Nicoll's had that in spades so far. And he'll wear Aguilar out on the ground and tap him out halfway into the fight. That's my prediction. I think he's a really good Australian prospect, and I think we're going to see it, especially in front of a hometown crowd.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a weird run as of yet in Jesus Aguilar. We'll see what happens with Nicoll. You're not the only one picking Nicoll. I think you've kind of turned me on it. I'm going to go him by decision, just not knowing anything about him. The next fight,
is a surprising amount of people picking him.
Yeah, the next fight is Song Kenan versus Ricky Glenn. Song Kenan is 34. He's 2-3 in his last 5. Ricky Glenn is somehow still fighting at 35 years old, taking a lot of damage. Was once a good submission guy. But at this point, he is or maybe I'm mixing him up with fucking Jimmy Flick. But yeah, at this point, he's pretty washed, 22-8 and 2. He is 1-3-1 in his last 5.
Yep.
I got Song Kenan to knock out the chinny, older Ricky Glenn. But to be fair to Ricky Glenn, like Song Kenan is not very good either. But yeah, I think that he's just more down to scrap, a little more durable at this point. Though both guys are pretty damn washed. That's my pick. What about you, my friend?
Ta-da! I got Song Kenan even faster with the finish than you. I got him by first round knockout. All right, bedtime crew, listen. Song Kenan has stayed surprisingly consistent in his last 3 fights, knocking down the Connor wannabe cuck, Ian Gary, beating Rolando Bedoya in a good scrap, and even having moments of success against Kevin Jousset, who I highly rate. Even though Song Kenan has never been much in the welterweight division, he is still a tough challenge for anyone below the top 15 at welterweight, sort of like a Dan Ige, but somehow a little bit worse. That said, he's going to be more than a challenge, perhaps a grim reaper for poor old Ricky Glenn, who, despite being only a year older than Song Kenan, moves and fights like a geriatric old man. He calls himself honestly, I think he should be in the Shannon Ross category of who hasn't destroyed Ricky Glenn, But,
you can put what is his name? Grant Dawson in there. And
that's true.
And Joaquim Silva.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets me down, I'm probably going to die to Grant Dawson. But so this guy, Ricky Glenn, he calls himself the Gladiator, but I guess he's the Russell Crowe Gladiator wandering through the wheat field in the afterlife. Even present-day Nate Diaz has better speed and response time than this walking corpse. So I believe the assassin, Song Kenan, is finally living up to his moniker and sniping Glenn with a right that sends him down to the mat in the first round, then brutalizing him on the ground for the TKO. Sad stuff in the early parts of this pay-per-view, but good for the fans and great for Song Kenan.
Next fight is Tom Nolan up at lightweight, taking on Alex Reyes, who is the older brother of Dominic Reyes. Tom Nolan 7-1. He had that knockout loss to Nicholas Motta, who's actually really good and a big lightweight. He's 24. Alex Reyes is 37 up at lightweight. Yeah, dude. There's not much to break down here. Tom Nolan, he comes to knock you out, kill or be killed. Alex Reyes is washed, never was any good in the UFC, if you ask me. Just bringing him in to get viciously knocked out. Let's go. Tom Nolan KO1. What say you?
We got a question first.
Yeah. Is there an MMA guy for Wilder to box Owen to get some exhibition money? Maybe Ngannou. I have been a furious advocate for Deontay Wilder versus Badr Hari in an exhibition boxing match. Let's go. Let's get one of these fucking guys a win. Badr Hari's a little more washed. I think he gets probably knocked out by Deontay Wilder. But yeah, I love both those guys. Want to see one of them go out with a win. Why not do it? Come on. Where's fucking Ryzen when you need him? Where's Ryzen when you need him? As far as an MMA guy, maybe that guy Badr was supposed to fight. What is his name? James McSweeney. Let's go.
All right.
Not Ngannou. Ngannou's fallen in love with MMA again. So what about
Taylor McSweeney Todd? A man is a PFL man for life, dude. Ngannou's going to be in PFL till he dies. Totally.
What you got as far as that question is concerned?
Let's see what's behind door number 3.
I was talking about Cool Breeze's question. Do you have an MMA guy for Wilder to box?
Oh, me? Let me think. I think Wilder should take on. Oh God!
Brock Lesnar.
How about Tuivasa? Hey, yeah, maybe after basketball field, man. It would be after this. Yeah, and also remember that Cyril Gane is always one to take a fall in a fight, in a big time fight, and just get taken down and subbed. So that would be perfect for him. Just let Wilder get him down. Never did any grappling in his life, and he gets the armbar on Cyril Gane. It just makes all the sense in the world, Skatesman. Exactly how we drew it up specifically.
Interesting.
But I got Tom Nolan by round 1 KO. Now I see what the UFC is doing with the early prelims with this card. And honestly, I don't blame them. They want a bunch of massacres and first-round finishes from the Aussie fighters in the early stages of UFC 306 so that fans watching for free, likely on YouTube, can buy the pay-per-view. Bravo, UFC matchmakers. You actually did a bit of lucrative booking for once. Unfortunately, 2 gross stains on this pay-per-view prevent it from being truly hype-worthy, but we'll get to those later. Tom Nolan's going to massacre Alex Reyes. No two ways about it. Alex has inoffensive striking with very little sting or technique to it. For being the executor, his execution's pretty hot garbage. Dominic, upon finally getting a win, must be ashamed of the little runt. And it's clear the UFC has such little confidence in him either that they're feeding him to the wolves in a guy who, for the most part, instantly knocks out his opponents in brutal fashion. This should be one-way traffic for as long as it lasts. But that being said, I at times worry for Tom Nolan, and rightly so. He's called Big Train because he rushes forward with very little care and prays that his speed, power, and long reach prevail, because if they don't, he gets knocked the fuck out by his opponents. And this weakness seems to be a real problem for Nolan, as we saw when Nicolas Mata got him out of there in relatively easy fashion. This guy's going to either kill or be killed for the rest of his career. His striking defense is shit, and he fights with reckless abandon like the Derek Brunsons of the world. Nate Landwehr should revoke his train privilege. You shouldn't be able to stop a moving train, but Nolan gets his ass kicked and he crumbles. They don't see what happens. Lame. Still, Alex Reyes is so bad that I'm not worried about Nolan's non-existent guard, static head, and bad chin, because he'll knock out Reyes before he even has a chance to do real damage. Round 1 KO in 3 minutes max. But this could easily be Tom Nolan's ceiling of success in the UFC lightweight division. That might be a hot take, but I think it's true.
Interesting. Well, we got Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns at featherweight of all weight classes. I believe Herbert Burns was a bantamweight before this. No? He's got some featherweight.
No, he fought Nate the Train. That was okay. Early on. He Nate the Train.
Unfortunately for Herbert Burns, his career is just about done, being the younger brother of Gilbert. I did like Herbert Burns at one point. Oh, wow, he's 36. I had no idea. Either way, Herbert's washed. He's quitting on himself. And in fact, he was so gassed in one fight, he got knocked out by literally just not getting up.
Yeah,
So,
God almighty.
I got Jack Jenkins
Oh, you're
by
making me remember that.
I got Jack Jenkins by 3rd round KO. I think just by the end of the fight, he'll be done and he'll be ready to quit. So that's my prediction for the fight. Panda says, "Yo Hank, who the fook was that guy last night talking trash on AJ's stream?"
Oh, that guy, he had like a Sean Strickland profile picture, and he was like, "Yeah, I beat everybody in this chat, man. None of them want this. I'm so cool and muscly in real life, like fucking Girth from the fucking Dylan Shaken streams, totally." And then I basically mocked him and insulted him for like 2 hours, and basically said he was just a fucking wannabe basement troll who everybody hates. So, and then he kept like going at me. And then he kept throwing rocks at me, and none of them were landing. And then eventually, I hit him with something that
sticks and stones may break your bones, but
yeah.
Words will never
Well, I threw a bigger rock because he quieted down a little bit.
That's a good way to win. But yeah, what's your pick for Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns?
Oh, let's take a look behind door number 4. I got Jack Jenkins by round 2 KO.
Price is right.
Yes, sir. You get $1 million. You got the price right. And brand new automobile and laundry machine. Speaking of relatives of UFC fighters who don't belong in the UFC, say hello, Herbert Burns. This guy's literally the worst of the worst at featherweight. I think Herbert would crumble if I sent a big enough punch his way. Again, he's on the who's the guy that everybody can knock out again? We were just talking
Shannon
about
Ross.
Yeah, he's another Shannon Ross in the UFC. We're piling up the Shannon Rosses on this card. So I would beat him in a fight, and he's so bad at his weight class and at fighting in general that even Jack Jenkins is going to find a way to finish him halfway into this fight, and he doesn't finish anybody in the featherweight division. The Aussie Dana White privilege is grossly apparent on this fight card. They don't want any Aussie fighters losing on UFC 305, so they can go back to Australia next year. It's clear because they are giving them several guys who are on the way out of the company with their next loss. Jenkins is faster. It's way more technical than Herbert Burns. Can actually survive 3 rounds of fighting, if you can believe it, and was able to beat, even if controversially, Jamal Emmers, who I think is still a dangerous fighter at featherweight. He beat the shit out of Nate the Train for 3 minutes straight before he got knocked out. So I give Jenkins extra credit for surviving 3 whole rounds with him. And if he can't get finished by Emmers, I know Herbert doesn't hurt him. No way, no how. Eventually, Jenkins' cleaner boxing gets the better of Burns, despite having a height and reach disadvantage. And eventually, Burns crumbles to a body shot or just even a fucking 1-2 that folds him like a broken lawn chair, held together with scotch tape. Burns goes out in a blaze of shame and hopefully out of the UFC too. Seeing him get squashed isn't even fun anymore. So why is he in the UFC anymore? Please.
Because he's Herbert Burns' brother. Next fight, King Casey O'Neill versus Luana Santos. Does she have a nickname? No, she does not. So is that flyweight? King Casey O'Neill. If you remember, she was looking really fantastic, getting finishes in the UFC. Beating the likes of Antonina Shevchenko. Wow. That split decision win against Montefiore was a strange fight. And then she lost to Jennifer Maia. Not a bad loss to have, especially in that weight class. But then getting submitted by Ariane Lipski, proving again that I cannot pick Ariane Lipski fights. On the other hand, you have Luana Santos, who's been more active as of late. Man, I really want Casey O'Neill to come back. I like her personality. I like everything outside of the cage. In the cage too, to some degree, but it just seems like she's hit a wall in her career. Luana Santos, on the other hand, been a lot more active. She is a younger fighter. Has just looked great. I really want to pick Casey O'Neill. I'm kind of torn on this fight. But yeah, maybe I'll see what Hank the Tank's going for, and I'll see if he can sway me.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, Idaho Skatesman. I got Santos as well to win this fight, but I got her by round 2 submission. Casey O'Neill is a pretty overrated and, in my opinion, sort of weak fighter in the UFC women's flyweight division. She went to a split decision with Roxanne Modafferi, who isn't fighting in MMA anymore. I think
that was a retirement fight too.
Yeah, that was. I do like Modafferi just as a person. I think she actually has a great person.
Not as a fighter.
She's very underrated, but still, she's out of the UFC. That's an old loss to have. Then she lost to Jennifer Maia and got armbarred in relatively quick fashion by Ariana Lipski. Wait, doesn't Ariana have like another name that we're supposed to call her by?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like a different last name now. Yeah, I can't
Ariana
remember.
Lipski Santos.
Yeah, it's like something like that. Who cares?
Yeah, anyway. Who just outmuscled and utterly
whatever that
humiliated.
means.
Yeah, whatever that means. I think I struck a nerve there, Skatesman. But she utterly humiliated her. Not even halfway into their fight. For a fighter who calls herself king, she looked more like a fool in her last couple of performances, and it's going to be more of the same when she gets taken down by Luana Santos. Even though her last opponent was Maria Agapova, she still looked dominant in that fight and was able to get the submission in relatively quick fashion. Which
I actually picked Maria Agapova in that fight.
Yeah, that is aged like milk that's been out in the sun for a month.
Yeah.
But, I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate the grind for that.
Panda says he already has the script for Saturday's card. Well, lay it on us, my friend.
Yeah, give us the picks. Spam them in the chat. Come on now. Casey O'Neill, I feel, has very little strength or fight IQ on the ground. So if she gets out-grappled a few times by Luana Santos, regardless of quality differences in striking, I feel like it's over for her. Eventually, Luana locks in the rear naked choke or the armbar, and then that's a wrap, in my opinion. O'Neill isn't UFC level at this point in her career. We now know what it's like to. We know what it's like to be a UFC fighter. Casey, it's a living hell just watching your fights these last couple of years, and it's not getting any better from here.
I'm giving her a little more credit. To be fair to her very strange accent, she's Scottish Australian. So whatever.
I just remember the Guru impersonation. I remember there was this one like animator guy that had like Casey O'Neill and Dominic Cruz like as in a family situation, and then Cruz was like, "Oh yeah, you could never get it up, could you? You always had a problem with the family situation. Too much trauma for you. Mommy and Daddy never gave you the credit you wanted. Isn't that it?" Or something like that. And she was like, "You don't know what it's like to be a UFC fighter."
Our next fight is Josh Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. Not to be confused with the other Ricardo Ramos who fought Max Holloway at one point in his life. Right? Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, Josh Culibao, he is 11-3-1, 3-2 in his last 5. The flip for Ricardo Ramos, 16-6, 2-3 in his last 5. He is the slight underdog. I got Culibao on this one. Better cardio, better all-around fighter. And honestly, like, it just has a fantastic gas tank. He is coming off of 2 losses, but I think that he had some competitive fights in those losses. I still think he's a good fighter in the weight class, stacked weight class. I don't think there's too much to break down here. What do you got?
I think you hit the nail on the head because I got Josh Culibao by decision, same as you. Ricardo Ramos is a moron. He allows himself to get placed in compromising positions on the ground and puts his head into submission holds when he's feeling creative. On the feet, he's not much better, throwing spinny shit over and over, hoping that it will land, and generally fighting like a spaz in that cage, much to his detriment. Josh Culibao, meanwhile, is nothing else if not consistent, and has had good scraps with 2 strikers I highly rate in Lerone Murphy and Danny Silva, going to close decisions with both of them, and always staying in there. If he can survive Murphy and Danny and even tag them a few times with good shots, Ricky Ricardo shouldn't be a problem for him in there. Ricky! He'll outstrike or outgrapple Ramos consistently for 3 rounds and the unanimous decision win. Plus, he's Ramos's Huya, as his nickname suggests, or elder. So he should treat him like he does his kids when they're making a fuss and give him a spanking. But don't tell Ian Gary I said that about him, though. He'll hop on that angle like a vulture on a dead carcass. Look at what he does to his kids.
His wife may make a response video to you.
You never put your hands on a child. I will take you to the divorce court. I had to hop on it. It was gold.
Yeah, and I think the Culibao decision is the most obvious pick, just because he's not much of a finisher. but he does have submission wins on his record. Ricardo has submission losses on his record. You might be able to find some good odds on that if you're going for betting. I wouldn't pick a round, but maybe just a straight submission. But yeah, our next fight is Junior Tafa versus Valter Walker. These two guys both pretty much suck. Don't have much positive to say about this fight. Valter Walker, is he the brother of one Johnny Walker?
He is. He is, in fact, the brother of Johnny Walker. Somehow an even worse version of Johnny.
And Junior Tafa is the brother of Justin Tafa, the Tafa Bros. Dude, I don't fucking know. This is the sloppiest heavyweight fight on the card. Oh my gosh. This fight's going to suck ass. If Junior Tafa does not knock out Valter Walker in the first round, this fight is going to suck major donkey balls. But Valter Walker potentially could lay on old boy here. Junior Tafa does not have very high fight IQ, and neither does. I mean, look, dude, if you lose to Lucas Brzeski, I cannot help you. I can't help you, and I have no faith in you. Again, I think that Valter Walker can win this fight. I'm just thinking that Tafa can get what the UFC wants and get a knockout. Not my picks. This is the UFC script. Aguilar, Glenn, Nolan, Jenkins, Luana, Culibao, Jairzinho, Erceg, DDP. All right, well, there you go.
That Ricky Glenn pick is fucking wild.
That'd be crazy.
That's the one sore spot on there.
They said it's not his picks. That was the script. Probably AI generated. But yeah, what do you think about old Mr. the sloppy, terrible heavyweight fight? What do you got?
Well, this is my first surprise for the evening because I am picking Valter Walker by decision. There's a reason Valter Walker calls himself the clean monster, as he's a beast when it comes to getting his opponents down to the ground, but then he makes sure not to get blood on himself by not attacking his opponents at all on the ground. Stupidity must run in the Walker family. You want a real badass named Valter? Go watch The Wrestler. There's my little reference to other sport I love. This approach from Walker has made for an excruciatingly painful watch for me in his fight with Lucas Brzeski, who I picked as a lock against Brzeski. And unfortunately, I think I'll be seeing it again against Junior Tafa, except this time I think Valter is somehow going to eke out a decision win for it. Junior Tafa is apparently the juggernaut, but he looks more like a bitch when he's on his back against a wrestler. No get-up ability whatsoever because he's another heavyweight fat fuck. Valter, at the very least, looks in shape, and maybe, just maybe, he trained for some more ground and pound on the mat. We can only fucking hope for that from a professional mixed martial artist. Tafa has speed and power like his brother Justin, but his wrestling's non-existent. And just like his brother, he's going to get his shit rocked on the mat by a wet fucking carpet. Hi, Carl Williams. How you doing, buddy? How's life? This will be a boring, crotch-sniffing fest for 15 whole minutes. Walker's bad at striking, and Junior is somehow even worse at wrestling. There's sort of two sides of the same rusty, tetanus-spreading coin. God, I hate this fight. These two can both finish each other and get cut. That's my estimate.
Yeah, I think any Tafa is like KO or bust. I think that Valter Walker decision is a good pick as well. I do think that in recent times, the UFC is telling guys not to grapple as much. That's something that gives me a bit of hesitation about picking Valter Walker. But to be fair, he does have a few KOs on his record, so we'll see what happens.
EDP.
Panda says Ricky Glenn drew with Dawson. Y'all forgot. No, we didn't. I literally mentioned that earlier. But Grant Dawson's not much of a, I don't know, finishing threat. But anyway.
People forget, man. People forget, man.
So then you got Li Jingliang taking on Carlos Prates. Shit, man. I like the Leech. The Leech, unfortunately, man, he was gonna have that fight with. Who the fuck was he supposed to fight? It was Tony Ferguson. The whole card got shifted up. It's really strange.
That was a fucking angle, dude.
And then he wasn't able to attend his very first press conference.
What the freaking suit, dude?
He has to fight Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, on like a day's notice. They shift the card around on him. D-Rod's 10 pounds heavier than him. Then he is, just has a weird last couple years, man. He had back surgery. Really hard to pick him in the spot. I think that the Leech that of 2 years ago would have beat Carlos Prates handily.
Yeah.
Carlos, as you can see, I have Carlos Prates KO 1. I think I should probably change it to like 2. But the only thing that I'm not sure about in this fight is Carlos Prates, though he is a knockout guy, I think that that's his best way to win, because I have a theory that he smokes a lot of cigarettes and he just tries to conserve his energy, because I don't think he has the best cardio.
No, not at all.
So he's just trying not to, blow his wad.
Oh,
Which
that's
is the only way I see Lee getting this one done is by some close decision. I want the Leech to win, but Carlos Prates just kind of looks like a monster at this point. I'm going to pick Carlos Prates KO 2. But what say you, my friend?
I think that's a pretty wise decision, Idaho Skatesman, because I also have Carlos Prates even a little bit later than you do. I've got him by a second-round knockout. The world has really leeched Li Jingliang these last couple years. He doesn't get to wear his sharp-looking suit to the press conference for that cursed UFC 279 card. He's forced to fight Daniel Rodriguez on a day's notice and beats him, only to have the decision win stolen from him by the judges. He then blows out his spine before he can fight Michael Chiesa and spends almost 2 years in rehab from what I'm hearing was a botched surgery. I cannot confirm or deny, but that's the rumor. Li Jingliang's recent UFC career has brought nothing but tragedy, and I think that's continuing here against who I think will be Lee's nightmare in Carlos Prates, pun fully intended. That is his nickname. He's dynamic. He's faster. He can hit you with just about anything from just about anywhere. And he's been on a roll in his last 3 UFC fights, most impressively knocking out what was a tough matchup in Trevin Giles and absolutely obliterating the underrated complainer, Charles Radke. The press absolutely loved that guy. Against a guy who's had back surgery at 36 years old, I think this will be a slaughter. I know Lee has a lot of grit and nonstop pace for his age, but Prates has better technique, and with the age difference, I think he's going to stun Lee with a big shot at some point and knock him out at the back end of the fight. Being the first fighter to knock out the Leech, and there's a little bit of trivia for you, Prates is smoking Jingliang like he's one of his cigarettes, which I'm sure he will light up in celebration of his win bonus with the boys. Again,
not to mention it is his birthday.
Yeah, so but don't smoke, kids. Leave it to the professional and Carlos Prates. Or Idaho, those two.
Panda asks, do you guys smoke? Are you too sober? I just do the vape. I've been almost a year without smoking weed. So, totally done with that. But yeah, dude, I think weed should be legal everywhere. It's illegal here in Idaho. But
whatever I can chew in front of me, that's my smoking habit. It's more of a chew.
All right, the next fight is another potentially very sloppy, boring heavyweight fight. You got Tuivasa taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who looked like the man at heavyweight until Francis Ngannou just charged in and just viciously fucking destroyed him in a round. I mean, it was like 30 seconds. Like, let's be fair. Tuivasa was a one-time top 10 heavyweight. Had that absolute fucking war with Cyril Gane. One of the best heavyweight fights of recent years. Fortunately, he's been on a very bad losing streak. Volkov, Pavlovich, let me pull it up here. Gone in that fight. Sergey Pavlovich, Volkov, and Tybura even submitted him in his last fight. That was really sad. But I have up here Tuivasa round 1 KO. I believe that's his only way to get this done. I'm actually going to switch my pick over to Rozenstruik decision. I've thought about it a little bit today. I think he's just even more of he's like a technical kickboxer. Was a pretty decorated kickboxer at one point, not like a 5-time K1 champ as Owner Kavanaugh was. Which, by the way, that was the most cap things I've ever heard. Do you know who Simi Schilt is?
Can you say that name again?
Semi Schilt.
I do not know who that is.
Legendary kickboxer, man. If you don't know who Semi Schilt is, he's like 7 foot tall. Like
you
literally one of the greatest heavyweights of all time in kickboxing. Even Semi Schilt was only a 4-time K1 champ. And he was like the only guy to do that ever. Like,
yeah.
Loder Kavanaugh is not a 5-time kickboxing world champion. I actually did some research. Sorry to go off on a tangent here. Loder Kavanaugh has never had a professional kickboxing match in his fucking whole life. Okay. So he's not a kickboxer. Don't know where Dana White got that information from. But anyway, I got Rozenstruik to just kind of be the more technical kickboxer here. Get it done by decision. Possibly a late KO. But yeah, I'm going Rozenstruik, the safe route, decision ways. But yeah, what about you?
Well, I went down the path of the skatesman, and I'll be honest, I'm not turning back. I'm sticking with my pick. I have Tai Tuivasa by first round KO, man.
Wow.
Here's the thing.
Let's go.
Listen, I would have picked anyone over Tuivasa if they were just a little more aggressive than Jairzinho Rozenstruik is. Even though Biggie Boy is very technical and was able to pick apart Shamil Gaziev, he still wasn't able to finish him, really. Gaziev's cardiac arrested gas tank did. The stool knocked him out. I'm not talking about the wooden bench. I'm talking about his general stool, as in his digestive system. And I'm not expecting him to have the power or the killer instinct to knock out Tai Tuivasa in their fight either. One thing I do know is that Tai Tuivasa is coming at Jairzinho Rozenstruik like a ball of fucking fire, like against Marcin Tybura. And I don't think Rozenstruik has the acumen to shoot takedowns on Tai or complete them. I think this will be a stand-up war for the most part, and I think Tai wins those exchanges against Rozenstruik. He's still fast, and I think has more oomph in his shots than Plotty Rozenstruik. So I think Tai wins the shootout and knocks Jairzinho out in front of his hometown crowd. He hasn't done it before, but Rozenstruik is such a neutral threat that even washed, receded hairline, sponsor sellout Tai can find a way to win against him. But who knows? Maybe he gets put out by Biggie Boy too. It is in his nature recently to fail at fighting miserably. But I still got a little bit of faith in him. I think this is actually a good matchup for Tai style-wise.
I agree. I hope he gets a knockout because I want to see him come back. Tai has always gone on long win streaks and long losing streaks. But yeah, I think he's got one foot in and one foot out the game, personally. He's saying Marlboro Ice. Did you say you smoked Marlboro Ice?
Not at one point, no.
I didn't either.
I smoked this one, man.
Anyway, next fight is at lightweight. Mateus Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. I don't think that these guys need much previewing of their careers. But, Dan Hooker, this is like classic striker versus grappler matchup, though Dan Hooker does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which is kind of hilarious. But either way, we know what Gamrot's coming in to do. He's coming in to wrestle, shoot like a million takedowns on Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker does have pretty good takedown defense and decent grappling of his own. I would love to see Dan Hooker win. Remember when Dan Hooker was like a top, like cracking into the top 5 of lightweight?
Yeah, those were the good old days. And then he had the
good old days
fight and almost beat him.
Talking about the good old days.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I got Gamrot here to just outwork Dan Hooker. Unfortunately, I would love to see Dan Hooker just hit him with one of those classic knees, knock his mouthpiece out into the third row. But I don't think it's going to happen, man. Fuck, this sucks because I think Gamrot will probably make this not the most entertaining, though I do like Gamrot. I like his style. I'm probably on an island there. Maybe some of y'all can get a nice raft and join me on the Mateus Gamrot.
Well, son. No, well, son. What?
All right, what does Hank the Tank have on this one?
I got the same thing, same as you. I feel like everybody and their mother is fucking picking Gamrot by decision, which just shows how unoriginal he is and just shows how unfortunate this fucking fight is that everybody can fucking see how it's going in their minds. In my opinion, this is the worst booked fight on the whole card. Why the fuck would the UFC put Gamrot on a main card if it wasn't a title bout ever again after that horrific performance against Rafael dos Anjos? Gamrot's a gamer if that gamer spammed the L2 button on his controller. to get the takedown, and then occasionally moving the analog stick to keep his opponent down without doing anything. He's a fucking embarrassment to the sport of MMA, and he's an embarrassment in the lightweight division. So, of course, the UFC rewards him for that with a layup against Dan Hooker on the main card of a pay-per-view. What fun this should be. Anyway, Gamrot beats Dan Hooker. Hooker's been out for a year with a broken arm. He's in his mid-30s. Beat Jalen Turner, but Jalen Turner's an idiot, as we saw against Moicano. So how good is that win in hindsight?
I think the Dan Hooker defense against fight, personally.
Yikes. I think the knockdown was enough to get him the decision in round 2. So, but comedy as well as fighting is subjective, as Joe Rogan would say. Man, comedy is really an art. And I know a lot of artists out there, but he had good takedown defense against Claudio Puelles, but no one else really. And Gamrot just shoots takedowns until he's on top and does nothing. So eventually he'll get the takedowns on Hooker to close out the rounds. Rinse and repeat. The judges will give it to Gamrot for the bullshit control time. The Hangman loses a 30-27 decision. What a fucking waste of a feature fight. I'm praying Hooker catches Gamrot coming in with a flying knee and leaves him unresponsive for 10 whole minutes before he miraculously wakes up. But I know that won't happen, so Gamrot.
It's funny, we both have the same dream pick on this fight. Again, the UFC saying, hey, you know what? We don't want you to grapple. Could be in play here, but probably not. Gamrot's not going to – he's not a dumbass. I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah, and he's fucking marketable. Of course he's not
the next fight on the card is my friend Hank the Tank's favorite fighter of all time. Just been a legend in the game. Hank the Tank's just loved him from day one. Steve Erceg is going to take on Kaikara France. Kaikara France at one time was that dude in the flyweight division. Then he took some bad losses. He's been off for a little while. He's kind of undersized for the division, if you ask me. Has a very small reach disadvantage here, or a big reach disadvantage here against Erceg, who is probably the more technical striker of the two, and also just has better defense, I think, if you ask me. More volume. I think this is a pretty clear-cut decision win for Steve Erceg. Possible knockout. Not to mention that Steve Erceg, had a damn close fight with Pantoja. If he wouldn't have made a really dumb decision in the 5th round, could have been champ. But that's the past. This is now Steve Erceg's time. I think he gets the win here.
I agree. Finally, Idaho Skatesman and I can agree on our GOAT getting a win in this one. But first, I have to answer Panda W's question regarding the 10,000% guaranteed Hank will pay you back if he doesn't hit parlay. I will not pay you back your money. I am just giving suggestions. As MMA Guru said, I'm just playing a character. I'm just playing Hank the Tank, so don't take anything the cartoon character has to say seriously. But in terms of who I think is going to win in a guaranteed parlay, I got Song Kenan, I got Tom Nolan, I got Jack Jenkins, I have Carlos Prates, and then I have Mateus Gamrot. So that is the 10,000% parlay. But if you lose, you should pay yourself. You got to pay yourself the fucking money back. I know, but it's a big time fight, and usually I get those fucking cursed. Either the co-main event or the main event, something fucking wild happened.
Not to mention the odds. He is a -230. That's not the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, but I got Steve Erceg by decision. And listen, I may be Steve Erceg's biggest fan, right next to Steve Carell in Bedtime MMA. What it do? But I'm not picking Erceg here just because I like him. I think he's a way more technical boxer than Cara France. His jab is better. He outstruck the current flyweight champion on the feet and, well, arguably won. But most importantly, Steve Erceg is just as good a grappler as he is a striker. I know that Cara France is excellent takedown defense, but with Erceg feinting the takedowns and occasionally getting Cara France down to the ground, I think that Steve can really open up his striking against Cara France, who I think has a way too conventional a striking style of pressuring and throwing big to really crack Erceg with a shot out of nowhere. He's called Don't Blink, but I think you can blink as much as you want. He's not knocking Erceg out here. In a stand-up battle, I favor the striking defense and patient offense of Erceg, and if he shoots an ill-timed takedown, all the better. Cara France will get paranoid of both lines of attack and eventually they will be too much for him. Erceg isn't really getting finishes unless they're against Matt Schnell, who gets chinned by everybody. Oh, God, why do I keep forgetting the name of the guy who Shannon Ross. He's another Shannon Ross. Join the club, pal. But he could drop Kara France in this fight and dominate enough to get, at the very least, a split decision win here, if not unanimous. I like Kara France, but he's been out way too long with an injury, and the judging's finally going Erceg's way here since they're in Australia, not Brazil. And we know they fucked over the New Zealander against the Aussie in the past. Justice for Whitaker. So yeah, 29-28 Erceg win. Big ups for Michael Scarn, ace detective and secret super spy.
All right, so the last fight, the main event, the one everyone's talking about, DDP versus Israel Adesanya. Adesanya coming off a loss into this fight, it just really skews the way we look at it. This fight was so hot at one point, and the UFC just refused to make it at the time when they should have. And now they got this. It's going to sell good. It's going to be it's going to be probably a good fight. I would like Israel to win this fight as much as I am not the biggest fan of him. But DDP knocked out Robert Whitaker, my guy. So I got it. I mean, so did Izzy, but
yeah. Everybody,
I don't know, man.
Including Sean Strickland. Everybody does.
I don't know, dude. I'm starting to kind of lean toward DDP though, more just fan wise. I love his attitude in the lead up to this fight. I think he's kind of redeemed himself in my eyes after the debacle, which was the comments about being, the African champ that actually trains out of Africa. Just my 2 cents on it. I think it's a little insensitive to not mention the fact that, like countries like Cameroon and Nigeria don't have the best opportunities for people, so they have to move in some circumstances.
Depending on how much money you're making, though.
Well, all I'm saying is just the opportunities in general don't seem to be the best there. But DDP being from a white family in apartheid South Africa, I would think it would be somewhat easier for him just on paper. I don't think that he was trying to be insensitive.
No.
Just saying, hey, you know what? I train here. I actually live here. And I'm excited, to be the first South African man that's, actually born there and still trains there. So
yeah,
to get
he's
a
got
little
a
bit
point.
of credit. But I do think that Israel also has a point in some of his little bit hypocritical statements, but nonetheless, these boys about to fight. I love it. Yeah. I love this fight. Yeah. Should have happened earlier, but I got DDP by decision. I think that he's just a little more well-rounded, younger, hungrier. Izzy does fucking well when he's down, though, man. When he's an underdog and he's down, he does well. I'm hoping that he is just really hyped for this fight. I'm hoping it's a good fight. But man, I gotta fade him. I gotta fade him in this one. I gotta go DDP.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, I honestly think they're both two rich guys from Africa. One of them just decided. One of them had a family that decided to leave Africa, and the other one stayed. But Izzy did not learn how to bathe himself until he was 8 years old, because he had servants who would basically do a bunch of things for him. But basically, that's besides the point. We could dig up all the dirt on Izzy that we want, and we're gonna hear it during the press conference as well. No, I want DDP to win, Cool Breeze. But there's all sorts of fucking back and forth. I am going with Dricus du Plessis, same as you. I got him by KO in the third round. This fight has a very long history. News articles into the triple digits, way too much back and forth, to be honest. Low blows, drunken tirades, shocking upsets, scheduling politics, online psychosis, insane racial and ethnic disputes, and now this. It's finally here. I honestly thought we'd never see it after Strickland beat Izzy in dominant fashion, but through the magic of a logical booking, now Izzy gets his title rematch once again, without needing a single win after losing the damn thing, because Uncle Fester sees dollar signs like a dog sees the local mailman. Whether or not, and I know that Izzy would love that image. Whether or not he deserves it is up to the troopers and grinders, but the real question is whether this fight's going to be as profitable as the UFC thinks it is, because I'm thinking it might underdeliver given regular fans dislike Izzy now and aren't that interested in Dricus. And the main card isn't really that stacked either in terms of name value. But anyway, fight breakdown time. I think Dricus finishes Izzy in brutal fashion. He may have gone 25 minutes with Sean Strickland and had limited power shots in that fight, but he still knocks. See what I did there? Still knocks Adesanya out because I think he's mixing in the takedowns in this fight. And that, I think, has been Izzy's kryptonite as a fighter throughout his career as mostly a kickboxer. That, and he dislikes pressure, which Sean had and Dricus has as well, which might be even trickier for Izzy since he often switches stances and comes in with very unorthodox attacks. I think one of those oddly timed punches is catching Izzy flush against the cage, and after that, the tone of the fight will change dramatically, with Izzy more on the back foot than he was before, and Dricus shooting in for 2 double legs around. And once he gets one that really sticks, I'm thinking in round 3, DDP brutally ground and pounds Izzy on the mat, no milli, and gets the TKO, bouncing the freak's head off the mat. King in the house. What's up, you rich boy immigrants?
Cool Breeze says he has a degree in political science, but I'll keep my comments to sport. Nah, man, you can say whatever you want in this platform.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping. I'm just hoping for a good fight, man. I think Izzy has a case to win, but yeah, I think it's DDP's time.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to get a good fight for sure. I like the clash in styles, as well as DDP is very dynamic in terms of striking, and you don't know what he's going to mix in with the takedowns. And then Izzy Adesanya also has a bunch of tricks in his hat. So I think we're going to get a very beautiful disaster in there.
Well, we broke down 3 cards for you. We gave you an hour and a half of content. We got a lot more content coming out these days.
A lot more thumbnails coming in. We're sorry that you saw the
yeah, we had a little snafu. Why did I fucking say that?
It's pretty good.
With thumbnails.
I'm proud of you for that.
I'll be doing a post show after this one. The card's going to be real early, so make sure you got your cereal and your coffee, and you're ready for this one to happen early.
I thought it was taking place. It's taking place at 3:30 my time.
Oh, is it? Okay. I thought it was 6:30 in the morning. But
get ready for the relatively early afternoon. Whoa.
Good to see you, Degenerate Dan. I shouted you out because of the Mads Burnell fight. Hit me up, man. We're going to fucking 1 in September. I got your cash. So, anyone wants to come to 1 in Denver in September, hit me up. We're doing this shit tomorrow morning, you casual. All right. Well, there you go. But yeah, anyway. Oh, he's talking about 1 Friday fights. I will fucking be there. And you guys, if you can wake up early enough, check out that card. It's going to be a fucking banger.
That's the real morning show.
Yeah, we need a fun weekend of fights. 100%. So yeah.
Fucking Tiber versus Spivak disaster.
I think that's the show, unless you got something else.
Yeah, I really hope we just get another visual of Israel Adesanya getting knocked the fuck out, because I think that would be fun. I think he's a fucking dweeb and a jerk, and I don't know. He's a habitual liar, as Charles Murphy would say. He's a habitual line stepper. But Israel Adesanya, do you remember when he posted that freaking tweet of himself as that one world leader in the 1940s who started World War II, and he was dancing across?
Yeah, that was really strange.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of things to hurt his reputation. But that's what you get by being a mouth in the UFC.
As well as being a mouth feeder to your dogs every once in a while when they're hungry. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through all of the things that Izzy has fluffed on his career, including his dog. But no Diddy. We got to get one no Diddy in for the show ends. But yeah, man.
Oh, you, Sean.
Again, I'm just hoping for a good weekend of fights. So
I think that's where we're going to get. I think PFL might just deliver. And I think UFC, at least the main card and the early prelims, I think are guaranteed to deliver despite the Gamrot effect. UFC 299 survived Gamrot, so anybody can survive Gamrot, except Physio.
Well, cool. I think that's the show, man. Lead us out.
You have escaped the war zone. For now. Hey, man, I'm telling you. Oh, gosh. Hey, man, I'm not Steve Erceg, dude. Don't tell me I'm Steve Erceg. I'd never be that stupid clown. You know, hey, what it do?